Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another Friday episode of Coffee with a Coach on all of our ECAC Hockey platforms. Nick Sierbiński, joined today by Princeton women's hockey head coach Cara Morey. Coach, how you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. So, coming off of a weekend where you were able to host part of the 100th anniversary of Hobey Baker Rink, I happened to be there in person on the Saturday and watch your team take home a win over Harvard. Really great atmosphere, attendance records, Stanley Cup in the house, alums in the house. Just tell us a little bit about the experience for you as a coach to see the program kind of have a culminating moment where so much success has been celebrated.
I've never been a part of something so special. Definitely in my years here at Princeton, it was the most energetic and like camaraderie built weekend. It was really a joint weekend with the men, and we do look at ourselves as one Princeton hockey program. And we have a men's team and we have a women's team, but we're all one program. And so we had over 200 alumni back, and all men and women. And we had an incredible crowd. Never have I seen Baker like that. Certainly not for a women's game. It was awesome. And obviously the team played some great hockey and some great competition. So I think it was a fantastic weekend to celebrate 100 years of this rink that we play in.
Yeah, 1,544 people at your game on Saturday. And yeah, that's now my only experience in Baker Rink is those two games. And I know I was spoiled. My first game there was 1,500 people for the women's game. So yeah, that's a single game program record for attendance and the highest on-campus crowd for an ECAC women's game this year. So something about that rink and bringing those trophies out and got everyone there, and to take home a win on top of it, your team's starting to pick up some momentum as you head into the later part of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we've been on a slow build. I think that the first part of the season, like, we've played well, but we haven't been where we know we could be. And, we started to build towards kind of the end during that Nashville trip. We started to build with that shootout win over Cornell, and then took it to, through the next couple weekends through Mercyhurst. But now I feel like they're really starting to feel confident. The puck's going in the net a lot more often than it was earlier in the season. So, and it was great hockey. And I think that was one of the best parts of it, was that a lot of these alums that played in older years where they haven't seen the women's game at this level, they came back and saw a women's game for the first time, some of them in 20 years. And they all came up to me after at the receptions like, holy wow, like these women can really skate.
Yeah, I mean, the level of play, and you can see from the young players that are in the crowd watching, they're just in awe of some of the things that they see on the ice, and it's every level that, I mean, I go there and watching players like Sarah Fillier. Some people said, wow, I got to see Sarah score a goal in person. I heard that in the crowd. Like, it's just a different environment. Yeah, it's impressive. And yeah, so talk about some of your players that you have that, including Sarah, who obviously has the international side, and you have players that have done it on both ends, that have allowed you, like you talked about, that slow build and continuing to stay the course and follow those rules that are behind you, and to continue putting the program where you want to be.
Yeah, we have fantastic players. I'm obviously pretty biased because I think they're the best. But, starting with Sarah, I think that this is going to be a wild statement, but I think she's still such an underrated player in that, you don't see her on all the league awards every week, and she's not really being in the conversations that she should be in because she plays a 200-foot game, and we often only look at points. And what Sarah brings to our team, does she produce? Absolutely, but she brings so much more, and she plays the defensive game and side of the game so well. She sets up her teammates, she creates scoring chances, she defends scoring chances, and so I think she's honestly still one of the most underrated players in the country. And then we just have a solid supporting cast around her. Like, Maggie's been phenomenal the last couple years. Maggie Connors, she's tough to defend. She's slippery. She's a playmaker. She is just so creative. And we have her playing with Izzy Wonder, who's in her first year, and also really difficult to defend because she can stick handle well. She can shoot well. I think she had 3 goals on the weekend. And then we have another first year, Catherine Kramstov, playing up with Sarah right now, who I think has had an outstanding rookie season. I think that she has come from high school level to the college level seamlessly.
And Izzy Wonder was the Rookie of the Week last week for that performance that you talked about.
Oh, good.
And so I'd like to put our own promotions out. Yeah, she was the Rookie of the Week after your sweep over Harvard and Dartmouth. And that sweep put you into a good position now to head up to Cornell and Colgate, which I know you're heading onto the bus as soon as we finish this conversation, where this weekend really can put you into the picture of, not that you're not competing now, but really vault you into that competition for those top 3, 4, 5 spots.
Yeah. And that's where we want to be. And our league, as we say, we mean it. It is the toughest league in college hockey. I think our players love that, but there is no easy weekends. There's never an easy weekend. And everybody from top to bottom can beat any team on any day. And we have to start pulling off some of these big wins right now in order to set ourselves up for playoffs.
And shifting gears a little bit, just talking about your background and 6th year now with Princeton, already have an ECAC tournament title under your belt, 2 NCAA quarterfinals, program wins record. So you started on this peak, right? And talked about slow build this season. The slow build wasn't really what we saw to start with the program. You kind of got there, right? So now how do you continue to, like, again, I'll reference the board behind you, continue to be accountable, especially when maybe you don't get some of the results day to day that you were used to in those first few years, and keep on peaking at the right time?
Yeah, well, actually, I think my first season we were only 500. So we kind of had some growing pains through that year, knowing that we were building early on, and then we kind of peaked high. And then I think COVID really affected our program a lot. Like, it really did. We had come off, winning the ECAC championship, heading into NCAAs. And I think that team could have beaten anybody in the country that year, and it cut it short. And then, we ended up losing a couple players during when our season was canceled that went to other programs. And so we know that, like, we have to slowly kind of like keep our values, keep our structure, keep our principles, but know that, there's the roster's not what we thought it was, and other people step up into those roles, and they're starting to do that well. So, we're calling on younger players that maybe weren't going to be in these positions when we were originally, had our roster pre-COVID and was, seeing what this team would look like. But that's why I think it's a little bit slower this year, because we have so many younger players being asked to play roles right off the bat, whereas they were probably brought in to give them a year experience and then be put into those roles. They're being asked to do it right away. And so I think that's what you're going to see as we head down the back, is that first part they're really learning. Like, we're asking them to do things they haven't been asked to do before. And now they're kind of getting through that, and it's starting to click, and it's coming along. So I think it's just, it's the cliche. It's staying the course, staying true to who we are and what we do. And then, there's going to be some growing pains, and hopefully by the time we hit the back stretch of this season, everything's clicking.
And you did mention, I want to reference that team before COVID, that 126 games. You had Sarah Fillet, almost 2 points per game that year. Carly Bullock, less than a goal a game, second in the country. And 3 players in the top 12 in the country in goals and points per game, which just is astronomical numbers. And yeah, I mean, it's a shame that for more programs that got affected by COVID, and you guys really were at that point where, man, what could have been? But to be able to build back and have some of those players like Sarah continue to, progress, it shows the fortitude of the program to be able to continue to do that. And shifting roles for you a little bit now, aside from that, you have players with international experience, and you've also had some of that international experience as well. How important is it for you as a coach, and even for the league as a whole, to continue to integrate internationally and to gain that valuable experience at that level?
Oh, it's critical. I think you get so much professional development when you go to, the international camps, or you're coaching internationally or with the national team. You learn so much from other coaches that you're there with. It's like, you get to pick everybody's brain, but you also get to work with, a different level of player, which then inspires you to bring new things to your team. So it's incredible. And I'm sure you're going to ask about this next, but like, Courtney's over there right now coaching Team Canada U18. They just I think they're undefeated really in round robin play, and she's doing a tremendous job. And It's really cool. It's like a really cool experience for her to be able to grow and develop as a coach and be in a head coach role. And so these opportunities are honestly invaluable to us as coaches.
And it's something that's built up for the ECAC over the years, right? So you're an alum of Brown 2001. How much different?
You didn't have to age me on this, but
but it's experience, right?
Yeah,
it's not age, it's experience. I didn't say your age, but you're coming from Brown and being all Ivy, all American in multiple sports. How much has changed? I know that's a crazy question, but what are the drastic changes that you've seen to this league and to these schools, from then to now?
I think the biggest difference is the depth of the rosters. So we had high-end talent when I played. I know that sounds crazy, but Tara Mounsey still, I think, is one of the best players I've ever seen in my life. But most of us grew up playing boys hockey, and that's how. And then there just wasn't the depth of the roster. So you'd have like 5 or 6 really high-end players that played high-level boys, and then the rest of your roster, there was like a drop-off. Now the speed of it and the skill of it is definitely increased dramatically, but the depth of it has really improved also. So like your first through fourth lines are all playing at an extremely high level instead of just your 1.5 lines back when I played. So the pace of the game is much, much faster. The skill level, because of all the extra work they do with skill lessons and skill coaches and skating coaches, like the skill level is extremely high.
And you talk about depth in lineups, and then also talk about, for me, the depth of the league as a whole, right? So you're in a spot where in the standings, you're battling in right now in the 6th spot. And then you're also every week right at the edge of the top 15 nationally.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of a league that you could be top 15 in the country and say, man, we really got to fight to get in that top 4 in our league?
Yeah. Well, I know it's like, as a coach, you might want a different league, but as a player, this is the best league to play in, right? Like, what do we want? We want to be challenged every single game. And that is what's crazy. Like, you can be, top 10 in the country and 5th in our league, which is absurd. And that's just speaks to the strength of this league and the great coaches we have around the ECAC and all the talent that we have within. And there is a lot of depth with all these teams. Like, the players from top to bottom can really play in the ECAC.
Yeah, if we have new viewers, that's not an exaggeration. This week's national polls, 5 ECAC teams in the top 10, which just when it comes down to the end of the season for NCAA tournament seeding for someone in my position is going to be chaos.
Yeah.
but it's good chaos. It's chaos that we welcome. So speaking of chaos, I know you have a crazy schedule and you're hopping on a bus to Cornell very soon. So my last question will go, and this is obviously pulled directly from your bio, but your husband, Sean, played 9 years in the NFL, also graduated from Brown, but somehow, in a weird twist of fate, scored the first touchdown at Princeton Stadium as a player for Brown. How many times has that connection come up and say, wow, how did you end up there? And it blew my mind.
Yeah, it's like it is random. Like, and actually it wasn't the first game played in the stadium. Apparently the first game they played, Princeton played Cornell, and there was only field goals. So it was the second game, and Brown came in and he scored the first touchdown, obviously on the opposing team. So, it doesn't come up often, but every once in a while, he used to coach the sprint football team at Princeton, which is a whole nother sport, but it would come up in like staff trivia and stuff like that. But I do think there was always something special about Princeton. So when I thought about getting into coaching, I don't know why I said it, but I said I could see myself coaching at a school like Princeton. And sometimes when you put things out into the universe, they come true. So it's random, but at the same time, it was always kind of a target of mine. It was a school that I was really drawn to based on its values and its academic rigor and the fact that, we're teaching these young women that, to be successful in the classroom, in the community, and on the ice. And so that was something I was always drawn to. And it's like the most beautiful campus in the country. So I think that it's a random fact, but we were also always drawn to this area.
Yeah, I firmly believe in manifesting, and if you can put it out there, it's very much going to come back to you in some capacity. Well, Coach, thank you for joining us. It's time to get on that bus up to Cornell. 4 straight wins for Princeton, heading to Cornell Colgate this weekend. Those games, as well as all the rest of the ECAC schedule, can be seen on ESPN Plus in the United States and on Stretch Internet internationally. Coach, again, thank you for joining us. Good luck this week and the rest of the way.
Thank you so much.